Hi you guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a little sit down video, switching it up. I feel like I've only been doing vlogs for so long. So today I wanted to bring back a little classic YouTube video that I love doing to catch up with you guys, which is just a Q&A. So today I wanted to just catch up with you guys. If you like these Q&A videos and these like classic YouTube videos, feel free to give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you want to see them more regularly. Recently, I've been getting a few more questions about work and my part-time job, and am I still like gonna continue to do YouTube and just kind of things related to that. I'm gonna put a comment on the screen that I believe I got this on my last vlog and you guys can go ahead and read it. But a bunch of people thumbs it up, so I figured I might as well kind of talk about this in a video. Hi y'all, this is me coming to you during editing. Somehow I finished this whole video edited and realized coming back to this comment that I never actually addressed like any of this in this video. Maybe because it was already in the comment, so nobody asked about this stuff besides the comment. So I'm gonna take this comment as the first question because I never actually addressed any of it in this video somehow. And I figured I probably should since I themed the whole video around it. Having a part-time job compared to the YouTuber experience. Completely different. Obviously, having a part-time job is really something that I haven't experienced since I was a teenager. For example, what it's like having coworkers and true supervisors for the first time in a while. But yeah, I have like around 20 coworkers. Truly, I have been so happy with meeting all my different coworkers. Like everybody is truly just like so kind and positive and supportive. On the jobs, I'll at least work with one other person. The absolute minimum we would have is 2 people, including me. And I've worked with up to like 6 or 7 girls total at like bigger jobs, like for a garage job or like a big kitchen slash pantry. We might go in with like a team of 6. I mean, I work with all women. I guess I didn't say that. Everybody is a woman, which has been really great and really fun. I feel like everyone's just so encouraging and so sweet and supportive, and especially like as I was, and I still am learning, but as I was especially in the beginning learning, I feel like everybody just kind of took me on so positively and like wanted to show me and help me with any questions, and I've just overall felt like very supported in that. So I really have enjoyed having coworkers. We have like a group chat. It's like a work group chat that my boss is in, and then everybody that works for the company. It's just like a way that we can all stay like updated on what's going on at the company, and also kind of like keep up with when people are like on trips, and also you can like ask for if you need somebody to cover your shift, which has been really helpful to me. I had to do that the other week when I got sick, so that has been very nice. Yes, I do have like a boss that is like the owner of Tidy Style, so she's kind of like everyone's boss. And then there's also like an upper management team. There's different like job positions that are like higher than me. I have moved up like 1 level since I started, which I think I shared that I'm training to be a co-lead, which is like the second highest organizer role. I think we have 3. The team lead is the highest, and then co-lead is like under the team lead, and basically their job is to support the lead and also help with like directing the other organizers and just making sure the job is going efficiently. So I am in my training, and I have been for a couple months, for co-lead, and I feel like that has been something that's been like a fun challenge, but I feel like I'm learning a lot and have already learned a ton in the past few months. And then we have like the entry level, which is what I was hired as, which like everyone pretty much would be hired as, which is like organizer. So that is like, I'm still obviously an organizer, but I'm like training for the co-lead position. So I did kind of want to like update on that as well. It has been interesting to kind of like take that role, especially when I started as like, I'm just here to learn as much as I can and to like help as much as I can, and kind of like have people instruct me and have people like tell me what they need from me, and all that kind of stuff, because you know that wasn't really something I've experienced in a while working for myself. So that has been definitely probably one of the biggest things, is I just kind of have like a mindset while I'm at work, like I'm just here to help the best that I can, get the job done the best and most efficiently I can, like have a positive attitude. I think that's really one of the biggest things of our company, is having a positive attitude, even if the space, you know, the space can be nice to start with, but it also, most of the time people are calling us in because they want it organized, they need it cleaned, it's messy a lot of the time, you know, the jobs aren't always glamorous and everything like that. So there's a lot that like goes into it that I won't get into totally in this video. Kind of working with the client, which is something that I've really never worked with clients and like gone into people's homes for work before until this job. So that's also been a new thing, but I would say it's been fun, you know. I get to see a lot of cool spaces, and it's really cool also to watch a space transform from the beginning to the end product. I mean, that's kind of like one of the most satisfying parts of the organizing process, and just a day at work in general is just kind of seeing it really come together at the end. Like usually if they're home, we'll show them a tour of the completed space, and that's always like the most fun part, is just like seeing everything come together and like seeing their reaction to seeing the space and everything. To touch on interacting more with people in my community versus only interacting with an internet community, yeah, I mean, obviously that's completely different. I feel like it's really nice to have like such different things that I get out of each of my jobs, right? Like on YouTube, I feel so like close to you guys, and like we relate to each other a lot, and like we're just friends, right? And then with my part-time job, it's more of like I feel a totally different kind of job satisfaction, where it's more like I feel like I'm helping someone with something that they really like have a specific need for, you know what I mean? And I'm helping them to create hopefully like a beautiful, happy, calm space, and I'm like an integral part of that. And at work I get that social aspect, you know what I mean? A lot of times we're just like catching up with each other, and we're talking about the work as we're doing it, and we're kind of like brainstorming things together, and sometimes it's like a little puzzle in your brain with like how things are going to come together, and sometimes things are challenging. You're like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how this is gonna work, or you feel like there's a lot of like maybe mess or product, and that is something, you know, we're like going through it step by step. So it's definitely just like a different way to work my brain, and something totally different than my, you know, sitting at my computer editing or filming or replying to comments or doing emails. And lastly, just to touch on working at an hourly wage versus a lump sum for projects. Yes, so as I will talk about a little bit in this video, you know, the way I make my money is typically like brand deals, and I do get paid like monthly from YouTube, which I'll talk more about that. But yes, this job is part-time and an hourly rate, which I had a set rate that I like knew when I went to my initial interview that like pretty much everybody starts at. I have been able to move up a little bit since then, which has been exciting, and there are a few ways for me to like continue moving up hourly. I'm not going to get into my exact hourly rate, but I will say I didn't go into getting a 1 day a week part-time job for the money. You know, getting a little bit of money is a perk for the work that I'm doing and the time that I'm taking to drive to the job and drive home from the job, and obviously, yes, like the work that I am doing, but I am not doing this job for the money. In a day working from home myself, committing the same amount of time to work, I would make more doing social media and doing YouTube stuff. So I just want to put that out there. That's not why I decided to get a part-time job. Of course, like I said, making some money is a perk, but it was more something to get me out of the house and pursue another passion that I have, and to like have the idea of, yes, I could make more money sitting at home doing what I've been doing, but I kind of want to get myself out of the house and do something else that is rewarding in different ways. So that was kind of long, but that was that. Now let's get back into the rest of the video. Thought I would theme a Q&A not only about work, it's going to be like a personal Q&A, but also about work, and talking a little bit more in detail about my other job, because I have been getting more questions about it, like I said, and just some personal questions, as we always do, because I find those are really fun for me to answer and connect with you guys. So thank you so much to Lavid Elena for inspiring this video. As always, I ask for you guys' questions on my Instagram. If you happen to not follow me over there, that's where I'll always ask for Q&A questions. So let's go ahead and get into it. Steph Spiritual asks, how long did you consider a part-time job, and what were the reasons you decided to get one? So around last fall in like September, October, November, I felt like I was kind of going through a funk, and I did make a video kind of talking about this on my Patreon. I'm pretty sure like 1 or 2 videos where I just kind of was like, I was kind of in a funk and in a lull, and I needed to like switch something up, and I wasn't really sure what it is. I guess my inspiration was just like to try something new out of my normal routine, and also I just had never explored that many of other avenues of work besides what I do on YouTube and what I do on social media in such a long time that it kind of felt, not that I was stuck, but it just kind of felt like, oh my gosh, like, can I even do something else, you know? I kind of wanted to just see if I could find like a super flexible part-time position that would be like 1 day a week. I didn't want to head into something that I knew would be like too overwhelming for my current schedule of the past like 10 plus years, which is like having my complete own schedule and routine. So I was like, well, if I could find something that I'm excited about that would allow me to work like 1 single day a week to dip my toes in and see how I like it, I feel like that would be really ideal for me. And luckily I was able to find that through my job. So once I was able to find that, and I'll talk probably more in this video because I think somebody asked me about like just how did I find it and how did I get into it. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And I work from home every single day, and I kind of thought if I could do something 1 day a week that was outside of the house and I could have more of that like social interaction and just do something that wasn't focused on me and myself as a brand, because that's the only thing about social media that it's weird to have like yourself tied up also in your worth a little bit, and like the money that you make, it's all tied to like you being the brand and the personality. I really didn't remember what it was like to work and not be like myself being the boss and the center of like everything. So that's pretty much what I was looking for. Gina asked, do you see yourself in Boise long term? I feel like I haven't given an update in a little while, and I always get asked about like moving and if I still see myself in Idaho for the next like, you know, near future or whatever. And I think that every honestly year I lean more and more since I've moved here into just loving how beautiful it is here. Truly, I mean, I will say the winters are a little bit hard for me. It's really not even that it's that cold or that snowy. It just feels like our winters here really go on like through the month of April. So it's a lot of just that lull, because I'm not like a winter gal. I don't do any winter sports. So I feel like other than that, like the spring, summer, and fall, I truly thrive here so much. And it is so nice to have Jared's family here. Like his whole family lives here and we get to see them a lot. And just like developing more relationships, and especially as I have like found my job here and like slowly met more people and found more friends, I feel like I am finding my community more and more. And I will say that that has taken such a long time. I think anyone who moves somewhere as an adult and isn't like, especially maybe isn't like working a job where you're meeting people all the time and like not being in school meeting people, it is such a challenge. But luckily, like being with Jared and having his family and the people that I have met have just made it like every year, like I said, I feel just so much more like in love with Idaho. I will say there's a lot of things about like living in a red state. I don't want to get into it too much, but you guys probably like know my stances that I don't personally agree with. So some of that stuff, you know, just kind of was like, ugh. But I do feel like in Boise, there's so many great people here, so many like-minded people, and I guess I would just lead into saying that I do feel like I'll probably settle down. I mean, who freaking knows? Like even the term settle down, I feel like you guys know, I've talked about this before, it just like makes me feel weird, the idea of like settling in one place for the rest of my life. And I'm not necessarily the person to say that I'm gonna live, like buy a house and live one place forever. I do feel like Jared and I will be in Boise or like close to Boise for probably like most of life, I guess. At least that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I do want to live one other place, even if it was literally for like a year. I do want to live one other place for like a year or two, or we'll see how long it ends up being other than here. So I'm still staying true with that. I feel like I've said that in my last couple updates on like moving and stuff, but as for now, like loving honestly the house that I'm in right now, loving where I am right now. Idaho is so beautiful. I always say it, it's so underrated, and I just appreciate more and more living here. So yes, do I love Boise? I really do love Boise. I don't love all parts of the state of Idaho, but I think that's okay. I do really love the city that I'm in though. All right, I had to answer a question like this because I always get a bunch of these when I do a more personal Q&A. So Sullivan said, do you see you and Jared getting married soon? So soon, you know, could be a little, but I will say that I do want to marry Jared. I think I've said that before. And Jared and I think are pretty much on a pretty similar page for like how we're both feeling about it. I will say that we have had those conversations and we had like a pretty, I'm not gonna say like serious, but we just had like a conversation about like, okay, this is his timeline, this is my timeline, and kind of like aligning a bit on that. So while I do kind of want to know the general, and I kind of gave Jared a general, like this is when I would like to be engaged and possibly when I would like to be married. It's not strict like a month or anything like that. It's just more of like a time period that I just felt I've been kind of like leaning towards and just feels more right for me. And if it gets shifted around a little bit, that's totally fine, like I said. But we talked about that and he knows that. With that being said, I love surprises and I really want to be surprised by my engagement as much as possible. Whenever it is, I'm not gonna say soon because it's really not in my hands at this point. You know, Jared knows how I feel and I know how he feels, and at this point it's in his hands. So he's the only one that may or may not know the answer to that, but I'm definitely not in a rush to get married. And even once I am engaged, which I truly do not know when that's going to be, I think I would have a bit of a, not long, but I feel like a bit of a longer engagement. That wasn't even a part of the question, but that's kind of my general thoughts. I feel like I haven't talked about it in a while, so we'll have to see what happens, you guys. All right, next question. Lindsey, spelled the same way as me, I think, asked, how did you first get into the organization biz? Like how and where do you start? So I wanted to talk about this because I feel like maybe I've talked about it a little bit, but I haven't gone too much into it, and I do get questions about this. So what I did, like I said, I was kind of looking for super part-time work. I wouldn't have really like applied to anything that wasn't part-time, so that, you know, might be different if you're trying to get into more of a full-time position. I basically literally put into Google professional organizing Boise, okay, and I like found a few companies on Google, and the company that I ended up like getting a job with and working for was pretty much the first one that was listed. They had a bunch of Google reviews, so I kind of like scanned that, and then I found their website, and I also found their Instagram. They had a lot of Instagram followers, and I was able to like really see that they had established themselves as a brand, and I was like, ooh, this looks really cool. So then I was like, I'm gonna go on their website and see if they have a link to apply, and luckily there was like a little page right there, and I was able to put in, you know, my information, and then I ended up getting, like the next day, I'm pretty sure I got a call or a text from them about setting up a phone interview, and then I began my process, which was basically I had a phone interview, I had an in-person interview, and then I was given like 2 paid trial days where I basically like, I could see if I was liking it and they could see if I was picking up on the process. And then after my 2 trial days, I talked to my boss and I was like officially offered the part-time position. But I would say based off of the city that you live in now, if you are in a more smaller city, there might not be much, but who knows, it's always worth a good, you know, Google search. Like I said, that's what I did. I would just put in professional organizing company and then put in your city and see what you can find and try to get in touch that way if it is something that you are interested in. Okay, Amy asks, advice for balancing fun, travel, concerts, etc. with saving? I really like this question, and this has been something that's been like super relevant to my life. I've kind of talked about this in my videos before. My social media job, which is my main job, is a very, the way I get paid is not consistent. I do not get paid a set amount per month, a set amount per year. It varies a lot. And most of my money comes from my brand deals. So that is kind of why, as a full-time influencer, you might see a lot of us kind of have to do brand deals, especially if you don't have another job. That is where the money is at. I will be totally honest with you guys. The money I make just from posting my videos on YouTube and things like that, it's really, for me personally, it's not really enough for like a full-time position. I have to be able to work with brands to be able to do this full-time. I couldn't do this full-time if I wasn't getting brand deals. So I just say that to be like, I do have a lot of experience with having to budget for like my quarterly tax payments, because that's another thing that is very inconsistent. But that's another thing that you just have to really like budget for in a more entrepreneur or like working for yourself type of job. But over the years, I've kind of gone through my highs and lows with that, and with like really not saving money, and then like having a good amount of savings, and then kind of like having slower periods where I'm not having any brand deals and really having to be like a lot more conscious about my savings and my money. And I would say like my biggest thing that I do and that I would advise is to have a high yield savings account. I always talk about this in my financial videos, but in case you haven't seen any of those, you can go online. I use Ally Bank. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything. There's a lot of different ones that you can use to make a high yield savings account. And that's where I would suggest any sort of like your cushion, your savings, just that is where you should keep it, because that is really the best way without investing your money. That is the best way to just have your money sit and grow interest. It's up to like 4 point something percent annually now, which is pretty high. That's pretty much where I keep like my money for my tax payments, and like if I'm saving for something, or it's just where I keep my money that I don't want to touch. And then in my actual bank account, I will have like my spending money for like the week or something, and I'll like transfer over money when I need to, whatever. But I would just say like my biggest advice, yes, is to like, this is what's helped me the most, is like not even having really easy access to my nest egg, like I said, my cushion, and really trying my best to like keep that separate. Of course, if I need to move money over, I will, but I really try not to. And then as for like budgeting for fun and stuff, I will say that I really try to like book stuff kind of far in advance and like really compare everything super hard. I will really like compare the flights, and I would say, you know, of course, the earlier you can book anything, the better. For like booking hotels and stuff, you can use like booking.com. You can use different websites that it's cheaper than like paying for it on the hotel website. And like I said, I can really only speak for my income. So when I am in a better place of like, oh my gosh, I have like a good amount in my savings right now, and I don't need to be like as tight about like really keeping like this specific amount there, then that's when I'll try to like book a trip or book my travel, or be like, I want to go and do this, when I really feel like I can, you know, make it work. But sometimes it's like, I'm just not gonna be able to make it work. So I think just prioritizing that stuff, you know, as for like concerts and events and fun stuff like that, just, I know you kind of have to get those tickets like quickly, but even that is something you can kind of like budget for. And other things that I do, you guys, I am a big fan of Afterpay. I feel like it's so helpful to be able to like, if you're shopping online, which I really try not to shop online that much, but I can't lie, like I absolutely still do. And a lot of times when I'm like, ooh shit, my order is like multiple hundreds of dollars, I love to split it into 4 payments and do Afterpay. I find it's just so much easier with like how I do get paid, and like getting, you know, my paychecks are very divided, so it's easy to like separate it into 4 payments rather than paying for it in a big chunk. So things like that too, I find are really helpful. And everything's just so expensive now, you guys. I mean, gosh, even just going to the grocery store, it is like just gotten so much more expensive, just every little thing. So there is just things that I'm not able to do, and those things that are really, really, really important to me, like I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna make it work, and maybe money will be tight for a few months before or after that because I decided to take that trip or something like that. But I think the best thing you can do for travel and all that stuff is just like comparing your flights, comparing everything, comparing the rates, and maybe you ball out on one aspect of the trip, like your meals and experiences, but maybe you stay at a place that's like half the cost of where you would ideally like to stay, but you're still getting that amazing experience. So like cutting back in certain areas, but still giving yourself that experience if you're able to. And I'll be the first one to say that it is hard, because stuff is just, like I said, I feel like stuff is so expensive right now, and I feel like everyone for the most part is kind of in that boat of just like, you know, like life is fucking expensive out here, okay? Riley said, would love to hear your experience dating someone that doesn't drink. So I guess I've never really talked about this, and I'm gonna like talk with Jared. I'm not gonna like put this question in there if he's not comfortable with it. So I'm gonna make sure he's comfortable with me like answering this question, and I'm not gonna get too personal into his choices, because Jared is more of like, definitely more of a private person than me, but at the same time he's open about the fact that he is now sober. So I will just say from my experience, when we first started dating, we were both drinking, and for the first like year, a little bit over a year, I think, yeah, a little bit over a year of our relationship, we were both drinking. And I'm not going to get into the reasons of why he personally decided to stop drinking, because like I said, that is his story, but he did stop. It was January of not this year, but last year. So this coming January will be his 2 years, and he is kind of planning on like staying on that track. It wasn't something that he decided was going to be his forever when he decided to stop drinking, but it's just something that has evolved into his new lifestyle. And you guys know probably I do still drink, so I've never been in a relationship before where like I drank and the other person didn't, or like vice versa. Overall, I'm just so proud of Jared, and I know that that decision for him was not like something that he decided lightly. It was like a really big life decision, and once again, this is like his personal choice. I'm not sitting here and saying Jared has decided to never drink again, because it is his personal decision and his personal choice. And I feel like where he's at in his mind, it may change in 5 years. You know what I mean? It may not. I would say it was obviously an adjustment at first. And during like the first month that he, was sober, I kind of would ask him, and I felt a little, not self-conscious, but I just felt a little bit weird like drinking in front of him. I didn't want to like make him feel uncomfortable or something, or like tempt him, especially in the beginning. Now I don't feel that way at all. He has made it so clear to me from the beginning like that he wants me to be myself and not be weird about drinking or weird about going out, especially like in the beginning. Now I don't feel that way at all, but in the beginning I did kind of feel that way, and I kind of brought that to him, and I was like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like weird if I was to like open a drink around you or something like that? And he, within like the first 2 weeks, month, he was like, absolutely not. Like, I actually feel weirder if you were gonna be weird about it, like I want you to just do what you would naturally do and not like make a big deal about it, you know what I mean? So now it's been like over a year and a half, and we're completely just like in our normal routines, and it's not really like a thing that comes up. I really enjoy making him mocktails, and that's something that's been kind of fun. Like when I'm making a cocktail, or we're having like a date night, or we're gonna like go out on a date or something, I'll ask him like, do you want me to make you a mocktail? Sometimes he's in the mood, sometimes he's not. And when we do go on dates, like he'll get either a mocktail or he'll get a non-alcoholic beer, or if he's just not feeling it, he'll get, like a Dr. Pepper or something like that if he's not like wanting to pay for a mocktail or something like that. I will say in the beginning of our relationship, we met like at a bar, and we drinking definitely a part of like our going out and our date routine and stuff like that. So that's been a bit of an adjustment, you know what I mean? Like me and Jared aren't gonna like go out to the bars, but not that I really did that much anyway, but I can still have my girls' nights. Like if I really feel like I need to go out, I can have like a little girls' night, or I have like that time on like trips with my girlfriends and stuff like that. Jared is so cool about it though. Like he'll still go to bars with me. Like for example, if we go on a date and I'm like, can we go to one place after this? Like we'll go play pool, and he'll get like a mocktail or something, like I said, and I'll get my drink. And it's really, we've still been able to like do those things, and he doesn't like make me feel weird about it. And I know that if it wasn't something that he was still enjoying going out to like one place with me, I wouldn't ask him to. But we have been able to kind of like work on that and still have that balance that I can like go out and have a little moment, and he can go out and have a little moment, and we can still like enjoy ourselves together, even with the fact that I drink and he doesn't drink. So I'm just saying, if anyone's out there, one person in your relationship drinks, one person doesn't, or if you ever like are thinking of dating someone that is sober or something, I think don't shoo that away, because I think it can work. I mean, granted, some people that are sober, I'm sure, would only want to date another person that is sober. Maybe that's just their story. But you know, for me and Jared, obviously, like we both had our own relationships with drinking when we were together, and then as we've been together, like that has changed. So yeah, that's what I'll say about it. Again, I'm gonna ask him to make sure he's comfortable with me talking about this, but if I put this in the video, Jared gave me the okay. Sierra said, do you think you will buy a house or continue renting? This is something that's like kind of been on my mind lately, and just of course the past like few years. I would just say that I'm like really in no rush to buy a house. I feel like I'm gonna be completely honest, I feel like it's unattainable right now. I just feel like I don't want to like put my entire life savings and like future life savings into a single house. You know what I mean? That's how I feel right now. I'm not saying that I won't buy a house. I probably will buy a house within the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, I feel like it's expensive everywhere. It's very expensive here. Lots more people have been like moving here from California and other places, and it's just gotten a lot more expensive over the years. And I just, like I said, I just feel like it's not attainable as like a couple in their 20s. It's not really attainable without outside help. I find a lot of the time it doesn't seem attainable to have that goal right now with the prices. So I personally will wait to see if it does become more affordable, and I would maybe try to buy at that time. I absolutely love where we're at right now. I think we actually get like a pretty decent deal on our place, and I love our house so much. I mean, if I was able to like buy something, it wouldn't be as nice as this house that I'm literally renting, you know? So it's like putting things into perspective. Like I know my personal taste, and that's another thing that is obviously a really big factor. So I will likely buy a house within the next 5-10 years. But also I am really riding just the train of renting right now and having money to spend on other things and not having to worry about those like emergency situations. I love where I'm at, and we will probably continue renting for the next few years if I had to guess. How do you handle not giving in to the societal pressures of getting married / having kids? So I wanted to address this one. Like I said earlier in this video, I do want to get married. I, in the past, yes, was very vocal about the fact that I did not see marriage in my future. And, you know, I think a lot of people might say that when they're younger, or they aren't with the right person, and they know that deep down, because I never wanted to get married until I was maybe 6 months into dating Jared. And, you know, I would say that was still like the honeymoon phase a little bit, but as Jared and I have continued being together, I think that's just been something that, I'm not saying it's like a goal, like it's not something that I want to attain in life to be like, I did it. My reason for like not wanting to get married was always that like I just wanted to live with someone and be with someone and like be with them forever, and like why do we need to get married? And then I kind of started thinking like, well, what's really the difference between being with someone forever, living with them, and like being married or not married? It's just like the level of commitment, I guess you could say. So I do want to marry Jared, so I guess that part of the question no longer applies to me. But as for how to handle not giving into societal pressures of having kids, of course I feel like this will definitely affect me more once I get into my 30s and I'm like 35 and all that stuff. But I just, every single day, me and Jared, thank God we're in agreement on this. And I do want to frame it with, of course, I am open to my mind changing, because if I announce that I'm pregnant in like 3 or 4 or 5 years and y'all are like, she doesn't want the baby, I just want you to know that that was the biggest decision of my entire life. I am open to my mind changing. I am not saying never say never, but literally every single day, Jared and I talk about the fact that we're just so confident in our decision that we do not want to have kids. Not that I don't feel the societal pressure. I do feel like that's the general thing that most people want, and that's totally fine. I have never envisioned myself being a mom, you know what I mean? Like, I am a dog mom, and that's like as far as it goes for me as my, you know, not to say that I don't feel like I would be good at it. It's not that. If I was going to be a mom, I would be so freaking committed. But that's part of the reason that I don't believe I want to have kids, because I really want to dedicate my life to myself. And I've said it before, you know, maybe it sounds selfish to some people, but I also think it can be selfish to bring a baby into the world not knowing anything that's going to happen. And I think you should just do what you want to do, right? Okay. As for that pressure, luckily for me, my sister is always wanting kids. She's always wanted kids. So hopefully my sister will be able to like fulfill that for my parents. Or possibly my brother. Kind of talked to him this weekend. I saw him about kids, and he's kind of 50-50. He could or he could not. We'll see what happens. But I do feel like my parents will still get to be grandparents, so it's nice that I'm not the only child that they're counting on for grandkids. I think that would be something that was personally difficult if your parents were really wanting that. And for Jared, he has so many siblings on both sides. Luckily, there's already a baby in the family, and more babies are absolutely on the way. He has a lot of siblings that I think will give his parents grandkids. So thank God for that, I will say, because not that that would change my mind at all. Please don't have a kid for your parents or your partner's parents, please. But you know, that is something that I would just be like, oh, like they're probably not going to be able to get that if it was like just up to me and Jared or something. I think the biggest thing is like, if you're just not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Like, you either see, you know, people with their kids and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's so cute, I want that, or you're like me and you're like, I'm so happy for them, but like I couldn't relate. Like, that's not what I want. I recently saw, I don't know the exact percentage, but it was right around 80% of women do end up having kids. So I didn't realize how, I mean, maybe I just never knew before, but you know, I'm in like the one, I'll be in like the 1 out of 5, I suppose. And I really think that is changing. I think there's so many more younger people that are choosing to be child-free. Yeah, I hope I answered that. I kind of, you know, went off again, as I do. Last question for this video is from Ginny. How do you balance society's expectations for where you should be versus where you are? I thought this was something really relevant to touch on. I feel this way all the freaking time, especially as I'm getting closer to 30 and just like, you know, going back to when I was like 15 and being like, oh my gosh, like whatever I thought my life was gonna look like at 30, right? I mean, I feel like it's never exactly where you thought. You know, maybe for some people it is. I would never think I would be out here in Boise, Idaho with the man of my dreams, living a beautiful life. But I know what you're saying. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but I am in a weird position where my biggest part of my career happened when I was really young. I feel like that's not something that's super relatable. Maybe nowadays with like influencing and things like that, but my biggest part of my career was when I was like in high school and in college. And then since then, you know, I mean, that was just kind of the golden days of what I did on YouTube, right? And I didn't really know in the moment that that was going to be kind of the peak of my career. And I don't say this in a sad way. I've really come to so much like peace over the years. I don't need to be like why isn't that my channel anymore? Why isn't that like where my career is at anymore. And it's because that's not exactly the way that world is anymore. I mean, things were so different back then when I was like doing YouTube, but it's just not the same anymore. So kind of just coming to terms with the fact that like, okay, I mean, I could get like sad and be like, I should have just gone up in my career from that point, not like had that be my peak and then whatever it looks like. But maybe you can relate it to something in your life where you're like, well, I had this job where I was making this much money, but I was not fulfilled and I was working too much and I was burnt out and I was unhappy. And maybe now you're in a job or just a phase of life, like maybe you've moved or something and you're in a phase of life where you're like, well, I'm not like making that same amount of money, or maybe I'm not at that high position that I was at, but I'm more fulfilled, I'm more happy. And so I think it's hard to not like, even I struggle with just comparing my current self not only to like other people my age, but to my past self. So if anyone's out there like struggling with that, or if you do experience that at some point in your life, I think that's something that probably most people just do experience, because I think sometimes your career can look like this, but I think sometimes it can look like but I think the most important thing is just that you're fulfilled. And when people, you know, like maybe your grandparents or just other people start being like, so what are you doing now? Or like, you're still doing YouTube? You know what I mean? I've had a few experiences over the years where people have kind of said something along those lines, and it's like, listen, I'm just figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily know what 5 or 10 years from now looks like. And that is a little scary, but I think probably most of us can relate to that. Like, I don't know what my life's gonna look like in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. And that's okay, because I'm gonna figure it out. And every experience that I have and everything I say yes to is going to lead me to a new adventure and a new person and a new experience. And you're gonna try things that work and don't work, and things you like and don't like, and it's okay. If you made it this far into the video and you made it this question, I guess I would just leave you with, we all experience that. Trust me, every person experiences that, and it's really easy to let it kind of eat away at you. Like, I thought I would be so much further, I thought I would be so much more successful now that I'm like almost 30 or whatever it is, 40. You know, I thought I would be here in my life, and I'm here. And please don't let that like overtake your life, because you can truly always start over. You can always start something new. You can always delve into a new passion and just find ways every single day to be more true to yourself, and try not to stress over that stuff too much. I'm just out here doing the best I can. I don't know what my life's gonna look like in 10 years. I have no clue. And that is completely okay, because 10 years ago, if you had told me I was gonna be living in Boise, Idaho, I would be like, no, the hell I'm not. But you know what? I'm freaking happy. Who knows what it'll be in another 10 years. We'll have to see, you guys. All right, you guys, that's the end of this video. I answered a bunch of questions today. I think it was a long one as usual, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to leave me a comment down below if you made it until the end of this video. I'd love to chat with you. This was really fun to do. I love a good Q&A. I love catching up with you guys. It was so good to do. So hope you guys enjoyed it too, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, you guys.